Hey, welcome everyone. We will get started in about 1 minute. All right. Well, hello again. My name is Andrea Skinner, and I am your host today. Welcome to our May webinar. We have some topics today that we're going to share with you, and hopefully will help keep you ahead of the ever-changing Microsoft 365 platform. We are kept on our toes, learning about everything that's rolling out just on almost a daily basis. Our time together here is crafted to introduce ideas to you to assist you to implement new functionality for your organization as they roll out as well. While we do try to focus on a lot of the new stuff, we also sometimes mix in some pre-existing features, and we'll show you how to customize and augment your tools as well. So it's not a sole focus on new. However, there's a strong focus on new. Hopefully, your 1 hour invested here with us today will return to you fivefold because hopefully you'll see something that you've wanted or maybe you will need soon. So I invite you to use the instructions, the videos, the custom code, all for your benefit because we've already done that work ahead of the game. So everyone's excited to get going. So I will turn things over now to Hayden Honekamp. Over to you, Hayden.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. Hello and welcome, everyone. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Thursday, the pre-Friday to your Friday. I'm pleased to serve as your moderator today. If you are a returning guest, it's so good to see you. If this is your first time, welcome. We're glad to have you. We host these monthly webinars as kind of a way to help educate everyone on the upcoming changes, like Andrea was saying, in the ever so changing O365 world. And we do cover a broad amount of topics so that hopefully everyone can walk away a little bit more inspired and ready to control their content's destiny. A few things to mention before we jump in. You may have noticed when you joined that mics are muted at this time. So if you do have any questions or comments, we do encourage you to utilize the chat feature during this presentation. Once the webinar does conclude, we will be moving into a live Q&A, which we will then allow users to unmute their mics and ask questions to our team in real time. But more on that afterwards. We do have a jam-packed schedule, as I'm sure you guys can see, chocked full of new features, and we'll be starting this webinar off with Dylan, who will be teaching us on how to set up new event signups in Microsoft Bookings. After that, John will be showing us the new Microsoft Stream features in the Microsoft Teams app. Following John, we have Ken Lewis, who will be showing us the new custom fonts coming to SharePoint, much needed. Very excited about that one. And to wrap up the presentation, Leona Lamont will be sharing two different topics. One is how to set up campaigns in the new Viva Engage app, as well as an overview on Microsoft Teams Meet Now feature. With that, let's just go ahead and jump on in with Dylan's first topic. Over to you, Dylan.
Everyone. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and share my slide here, and then yeah, we'll get into today's presentation, which will be on Microsoft Bookings. So yeah, Microsoft Bookings has been around for a little while as a 365 app, and what I want to show today is how maybe a use case of how you could use it. Show how it's fairly easy to use, and potentially we'll touch on as well about how you could extend it with some automation, which is one of their newer features. But yeah, really the main um, selling point for it in terms of using it would be just that it's quick and easy to use to set up something like reservations, class signups, maybe reserving a conference room, things like that, or even just for your own personal use of blocking off your time. So if people want to use, if you have some resource or something that you're maybe training or something. So it's fairly easy to use and just to try out. There's no complex development needed. And also, it's nice, you may already have it included with your license. So you don't have to get it as maybe a separate license. And I've actually included that in the notes on the slide here about what they say it comes with in terms of licenses. It gets bundled in with a lot of different ones. So you may actually already see it as an app when you're logged into SharePoint or just in 365. So with that in mind, I'll just say a couple terms here. So bookings, as I mentioned, this is essentially their scheduling tool. And it's integrated with your Outlook and Teams. It technically is actually living in Exchange is what is the technical side of it there. But yeah, it's their sort of dedicated scheduling tool. And the Power Automate, which we may touch on, is just as well just the in-house automation tool, which can be used to extend it and connect to other resources as well. Something like if you wanted to connect to Zoom or Teams or whatever you may want to do, you can do some additional automation. And what I'll show is actually connecting to SharePoint. And then another term here, just rooms and equipment. Some of you that have been using Outlook for a long time may be familiar with this, but in 365 in your admin center, you have the ability to create your own unique rooms and equipment that could be used in your tenant. And so specifically for this, I may show that as well, just using a room that I already have configured in my admin center as the location, as opposed to just using like a physical, GPS location that's would be in Google Maps or something like that. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and pull onto the screen my page here, and I'll just walk through actually creating a service in Bookings and just show it's fairly easy, only takes a couple minutes. So I'll go ahead and bring this onto the screen. I've actually created a little dashboard, but what I want to show you is if you want to see if you have Bookings already, just real quick, that would just be in your apps, and Bookings would be one of them in here. So I can see, I have Bookings. So if I click that, I'll go ahead and open it. So here's the 365 app. I've already got 2 set up, and you'll see you have the ability to create personal ones. So personal might be, if you're want to have time that people could block off, or if you have a certain piece of equipment, it's something that's, yeah, your own personal one. It's not shared. There's not multiple staff or department or company involved. You could do a personal one there to book time with you, and even have that as like a little in your signature where someone could book time, something like that. Or a shared booking page, which would be something more like if you have maybe event spaces, conference rooms, classes, whatever it may be, so whatever that may look like, you would go with the shared bookings page. And so to get started with that, you could hit that create bookings page. So if I click that, you'll see I could create one from scratch or clone an existing one. But I've already got one created. So I won't do that. I'll actually just show you how to create a service in your bookings page. So I've just got my bookings page already created here. So I'll just click it. And when you click it, you'll see it has a handful of different things that you can customize. By default, it's opening the calendar itself. So it's showing everything that's going on, for the month here. And so what I'll do is I'll just come over here and show you some of the different things that we could configure. So the most important one being the services. So the services would be the actual things people might sign up for and maybe want to book. And so you could have multiple services within your bookings page. And just to show you what a bookings page looks like, let me see, I think I've already got it open here. Or I'll go ahead and just click the link just to show you. For instance, if I have a sign up here, whatever the service is, you'll have what's called a bookings page. So it's something that can be linked to, and I'll show you how to set this up. But basically for each one of these, you can see, they all have their own different sign up links. So what I'll go ahead and do is under my services here, I'll hit add new service. So I'm going to set up something new that someone can sign up for just to show you, fairly straightforward. We could give a name to the service. So let's say, want to do classroom 1, whatever it may be. So if you have, this is a common thing that's come up before is some kind of class signups that people have. We want to have maximum number of attendees, so no one can sign up for it once it's reached that amount, something of that nature, or some kind of event people could go to. So what we can do is give that a name, a description, and then the location. So going back to that rooms and the rooms and equipment piece of that, and I'll show you on the screen in your admin center, whatever you have set up, you could choose that. Location doesn't have to be one of these, but if you do have those set up under resources in your admin center, you could select that as a location here. So for instance, if I start to type in conference room, I can choose, you'll see the difference here between conference room, which is one that I have set up in my admin center, versus actual, address locations that are just getting pulled in. So you could choose either one if you wanted to, or just put a free text of something in there if you wanted. But so I could choose conference room if I wanted. Give this a description. We'll just say it's test classroom. Anyways, I'll just say that. So I can just come in, I can leave some notes, and then speaking about the attendees here, I could set, my maximum. So let's say it's going to be 30. And so now I've got the basic details set up. And, now, if you need to set when people could sign up for it, or, depending on your scenario, there's a couple of different things that you could set up here and try out. So that would be going over to the availability options. Um, so depending on the scenario, this will look different for you, but, you could set lead times, time increments, whatever it may be. So if this is a reusable resource, this would be, maybe we want to say 1 hour, what's the lead time that someone needs before they could sign up for it, so that they can't do it last minute. Do they have to do it 24 hours in advance, or going to be shorter, longer, whatever that is, you could set that. So I could say, for instance, let's do 48 hours. And then we could do what's the maximum lead time. So right now, 180 days. Let's just say 60 days. And then the other option is if staff is involved with the, whatever this is going to be, you could say, you could have staff set up for it. And so that the time could only be booked when the staff is free. Or you could just say, if this is just a room anyone could book, staff is not involved with that. You could just do custom hours and say, anytime during business hours, someone could potentially book this. So yeah, just a handful of, kind of easy to set up and try out settings here. But if staff is involved, you can configure your staff. So I could assign myself here as the staff member that's going to get notified and be responsible for this in terms of just keeping track of this. Maybe be involved with whatever this booking is. So if you're the speaker or whatever it would be, or whatever you're looking to do here. And then you can just say, is it, all staff gets assigned, or a particular person, whatever that is. So you can set some of that up here. And then the other thing that's nice is if you need them to fill out some details, so if someone is signing up for this, maybe you want to ask them a few questions. Maybe you want to require them to fill out certain bits of information. You could do that. Customer email, phone number. We could also set up custom fields. So this could be like a little form. So for instance, I've got one here that's, is there any equipment needed? So I could select this. I already have this as one of my questions, but you could always create new custom ones from scratch here. But I could say, yeah, let's make this one where they have to say, do they need a projector or TV or anything like that? And then as well, if I come over to my notifications, this is where, without having to do any development here, we could just say, when do we want reminders to go out? There's already some set up by default, but we could change those if we wanted, like a 1-day reminder before, follow up after they submit. If you want to customize those, you can, in terms of what it says or when they receive it. This one says 15 minutes after to the customer. So, there's a handful of things that you could set up here just right out of the box in terms of who gets notified, sending the invite. So yeah, a couple fairly easy to try out and set up features here. So I can go ahead and hit save. And so now that I hit save, you can see I now have a new resource here, this classroom one that I set up. And I just made it available during the business hours. So that's pretty nice. And then I have myself set as the staff for that. So just to show you what I could do now, I've got now this something I could link to directly, whether I want to put this in my SharePoint site, if you wanted to put this, send this out wherever you would want to put it, I could copy this link. And let's say I want to put it in my SharePoint site. So what I'll do is I'll come back here. I've already got some set up here, but let's say I want to set up a additional link. So I just copied the link of my new service, and I just want to paste it in as a quick link, just to show you here. Then let's just say this is a classroom sign up. And then just to show you here, I'll click the sign up link. and it goes directly to, the form to sign up for this, and whatever I just set up here, where someone could choose a date, whatever it's going to be, the time, and then you can see my additional um, question here that I added to this, which was about the equipment. And so I'll go ahead and just fill out a couple of things here, and just to show you. Also need to do the phone number. For now, I'm just going to do this. And what I will say as well, there was the option, if you have it licensed, to actually do text message notifications as well. I think it's a premium feature, but for Teams, I think is what it was. But you do have that ability as well. So go ahead and hit book, and I'll just show you. That's going to send out the email. And what that also does, because this actually lives in Exchange, it goes ahead and puts it on the staff's calendar, the customer, potentially customer's calendar, whoever that's involved with the sign up in Outlook, if they're set up that way. So if it's if they're able to do that. And what I'll show you here, one of the notifications, already comes out with a format, when it's gonna, what time that's gonna happen at, what's the location, and here's also the confirmation email, the one for the customer, one for the here, which would be the confirmation for the customer. So all those alerts are already handled without having to potentially develop all that and build that out. So what I would say is it's pretty nice that you could just try it out, see if it would fit for your scenario you might be looking for. So we've had this happen where there's kind of that path where you could go down the custom route, build out exactly what you want. It might take some time, maybe there's going to be some compromise, or you could just see if you already have a license for this, pretty easy just to try it out and see if it would fit for your scenario. And potentially start to use it, for booking some resource. And then, the one other thing as well, you can also do I've got different services here. So for my overall bookings page, just to show you, if I want to have, additional just company information, whatever it is, I can customize my page, set up those kind of things here. There's some basic stuff that you could set up, region settings. And then also you could have a link to the bookings page where people could get any number of classrooms, whatever it's going to be. So you can see I've got, IT support, class sign up, event sign up. So I've got all my services on this page. And you could also link to something like this, which, somebody could sign up for any number of things that are available from your bookings page. So this is kind of the overall bookings page that could be linked to, as opposed to linking directly to a specific service. So, I could just select one of these, and you'd see the fields down here are going to change based off how I have that service set up. So this is also an option where I could potentially just link directly to this. Now, one last thing I will say, because this is its own app, this does come up, is that, well, what if we want to get some of this data tracked in SharePoint? And I won't go too in depth with this today, but what I will show you is you do have that ability. So if I come back real quick, I will show you under integrations here. This is one of the newer features. So you have this ability to connect it to Power Automate, where you could potentially extend what it could do. So in my use case here, it's just to track it in SharePoint. So I'm just copying this address here as my trigger to say anytime anything in this, shared bookings page is created, let's create a trigger for that in Power Automate. So over here, you can see anything in this demo bookings page that I have set up. I just have a little delay, and then I just create an item in SharePoint to track it with, the amount of attendees that are there, what was the max attendees for that, the start and end time, some of the details. And so that way, back on my page here, I've got this bookings tracker. You can see I've already got my new item here. I've already got this automation running, and it's already got this set up here so that I can see some of those details. So I can see those 10, the max attendees was 10. Right now, the attendees count is 1 because I only signed up one time here. But, so that's the way I could potentially track this in SharePoint, manipulate this to look how I want, if you wanted to do a graph or whatever it was. We're just getting into SharePoint so that potentially you could see it from here as opposed to just going to the bookings app. So there's a lot you could potentially do with the Power Automate side if you really wanted to, but at the very least, the bookings app itself is pretty easy to use out of the box, and maybe that'll be enough, but there is the ability to extend it just to show that as well. So with that in mind, I'll say that'll probably cover what I'll do for today. Potentially a lot more you could do, but I think that'll conclude my presentation on Microsoft Bookings. So I'll hand this back over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dylan. That was great. Yeah, using the example of boardrooms and classroom reservations, brilliant. One thing that I was thinking about also is if you guys, if your organization has like a training portal with training classes or even continuing education classes where you have to track signups and who's taken what and when they took it, having that built-in audit trail with Power Automate of who attended and having all that content in one area could be very beneficial. So very exciting stuff there. Next up, we will hear from John, who's presenting on Microsoft Stream and the features that are now found in Microsoft Teams app. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Hayden, and welcome everyone that is joining us today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So today we're going to be talking about Stream and how that now integrates into the Teams app. Pretty neat feature we've got going on here. Microsoft's been pretty busy making this a little bit more robust and make it a lot easier to work with and easier to access. So if you guys are already recording your Teams meetings, you already know that Stream is the home storage for all your Teams videos. If you didn't know, now you do. So all your meeting recordings are hosted in Stream. You can upload videos into Stream. You can even create your own screen recordings and audio recordings to Stream. And within there, you can clip scenes, you can trim scenes. So maybe you've got a meeting where the first 5 minutes is waiting for people to join and just kind of chit chat and all that. You don't necessarily want to have that in a recorded session to go back to later. You can trim out that first 5 minutes and just go right to the action, or you can cut out the last few minutes where everyone's saying goodbye. You can trim those out and just have just the information. You could add background images. You can even add background video. And if you really wanted to get snazzy with it, you could add background music. You can draw on the screen. You can add text. There's even a teleprompter option, which is actually pretty neat, and I'll show that one. And you can add borders to your videos. If you want, you can also, through Stream, you can share your recorded videos. You can either do a direct email to people, send the video right to them, or you can send a link, copy paste that in an email or to a text or whatnot. You can even add pre-recorded videos to the calendar. So, for example, let's say you've got uh, a pre-recorded intro, maybe just saying, "Hey, this is what to expect in a kickoff meeting with us," or some sort of quick elevator pitch about your company, right? You can have that video already recorded and perfected, and you can click on Add to Calendar. It will create a new event where you can invite people to a meeting, and it will embed that video directly into the agenda. And then when people receive the invite and they accept it, the video will be right there. They can view the video before even joining a meeting. So they already have a better idea of what to expect. It's a pretty neat feature. And you can create playlists. Uh, so let's say you've got a whole bunch of videos that you want to send to a client, for example. Maybe it's a recording history of every meeting you've had with them, or maybe you want to send someone uh, a copy of every one of these webinars that we've had. You can create a playlist of just the webinars, and then you can send a whole playlist out instead of having to send one by one by one. It makes things much easier and much smoother. So, with all that being said, let me go ahead and actually show you how this works and how it's integrated into Teams now. So I'm going to pull over my Teams window here. And to get to it, we're actually going to go to the three dots here, the ellipsis. Click on that. We're going to click on Stream. Takes a quick second, but oh, that was actually pretty quick. But here are all the recordings that currently exist. These are all videos that I have done. I've been practicing, so you can see all the videos I've been playing with here. But you can scroll down. If I were to scroll down, you could see we actually share out with each other all our videos. So if I scroll down, you could see all our client meetings. And I'm not going to share that because people probably don't want that to be shown. But I can filter by videos just created by me. I can filter just one videos that were only from meetings. I've got playlists here, which this is actually a work in progress. It doesn't quite show up here. You can create playlists still, right? You can actually go up here and create a playlist, but it doesn't seem to show up properly here uh, in the playlist content. I think Microsoft is still working on that. But you can create playlists and they actually get saved on Microsoft lists. So that's where you would find them. A lot of times they actually do show up in this recommended. I think if I scroll over, there we go. There's a playlist I created. So they show up. They're just not in the right place. It's a little bit silly, but still a work in progress from Microsoft. And you can even create favorites. If you've got a video or a handful of videos that you go back to often that you need to work with, you can create and favorite them, and you can access them quickly and easily. So if you're on a video, so here's a example of a previous webinar. Click on the three dots here. I can either open the file, I can open it in the file location, I can share it through an email or a link. And here is what I was talking about earlier. I can add to calendar. So real quick, I can actually pop that up. And we'll see it brings up Outlook in the web version. And it embeds that right into meeting. So if I share this out with anybody, it will automatically have this video recording as soon as the meeting invite comes into their inbox. So they can they can view that and see whatever info you want to share with them prior to actually having a meeting. Pretty neat feature right there. Let's go back real quick. All right, so you can actually upload videos from your own computer. If you have videos that you want to have up here and stream, you can do that. And this is a pretty neat feature that I'm actually been playing with a lot right here, where you can do screen recordings. So this is actually going to pull you into a web browser. Mute this so it doesn't blast us with me talking. It likes to play back your video. All right, so right now it's fussing because I'm sharing my camera and it's not able to use my camera while I'm sharing. So let me see if I can turn my camera off real quick, and then I can potentially turn it back on here. So I've got it turned off. Let's do a try again. There we go. Now we're looking at me. Look at that. We got a fun background here. So we can do video recordings here. We can do all kinds of crazy stuff here. We can do backgrounds where either you can pick a static image that just is there, or if you felt like it, you could do video backgrounds. There's all kinds of neat things you can do. They're probably a little bit distracting, but they are available to you to use. Um, you can add text to your screen, get rid of that. Or actually, if you want to do, you can add text and then you can change the font color. You can add a border around it, and you can even add background color. Get rid of that. You can draw on the screen. You can pick any color you want. Wow, that thing is really distracting in the background there. Let me turn that off here in a second. But you can draw on here. Go back to this. Let's get rid of that explosion. Nobody wants to see that. There we go. We can add stickers. All kinds of fun things we can do. We can get really creative, right? We can mirror it. We can create duplicates. We can drag them around the screen. All kinds of goofiness, depending on how creative we want to get with. We can change our filter. We can change our background. We can even pixelate it. All kinds of weirdness you can do here. You could add a fun border. You really want to get creative with this. There's lots of fun things you can do. Let's see. I can even put myself down here. I have to get rid of the border. I can hide my face down in the corner so I'm not front and center. Lots of fun things. Let me actually go over here to the back out of here real quick. I'm going to go to screen record. So actually a fun feature that you can do here. Once you're here, you actually can't do a fun background. So whenever my camera does come back up, let's see. Again. Okay, it doesn't want to show my camera right now, but if it did, it doesn't show any backgrounds in this version. So what would happen is you would see my background. You wouldn't have anything to hide what's going on back there. You wouldn't have anything pretty to display. But I want to show you something pretty neat here. So I can do a teleprompter. Let's just pretend I wanted to give the Gettysburg Address in a video. I can copy and paste that in here, right? So now I've got a teleprompter that will auto scroll as I am presenting. Get rid of this thing. And if I go to record, it's actually going to ask me, what do I want to share? I can do a whole window, I can do an entire screen, or I can do just a tab, which is pretty neat. This only works through Microsoft Edge. I've got 6 other browsers here. It does not work with those. It only works with Edge. But I can say I want to show just this tab right here, which is pretty neat because I can be fumbling around doing all kinds of things in the background and no one will know because it will only show this tab and it won't show what I'm doing on the screen. It won't. I can change tabs on Edge and no one will know because it'll still display this screen right here and not what I'm messing around with in the background. If I go ahead and click share, it's going to do a countdown and it's going to let me know that it is recording. You should. Typically, there's a countdown, starts recording, lets you know that you are now recording. Let's try that again. Share. All right, we're sharing. Now I can click play, and here goes the Gettysburg Address, or whatever it is I want to talk about. And I can change it. I can make it go fast. I can make it go slow. And this will present it to me. I can see this, and I can talk to this. I can speak and say exactly what it is presenting to me. But it won't show up in the recording. Only I see this. It will not be there for anybody else. So if you want to make sure you stay on topic and you're not saying ums and all this other stuff, and you want to make sure you are giving the cleanest presentation possible, you can have this come up. Pretty neat feature. Okay, and let's see. Lots of fun things you can do here. I do believe that covers just about, well, let's just go look at the playlist real fast. So same situation, you click on playlist, it goes back into the tab. You can see we're in Microsoft list. We can call it whatever we want. We can call it webinars. I can't spell. Create a list. It's a quick second to think about it. And then it should show us all our history of videos, or we can go to add new item. And this should bring up all the videos that exist. There we go. And I can do a search, or I can look at, let's see. There's a search option here. It's hiding out somewhere. I don't know. But let's just say, I'll just go to the favorites. I want to add this one. And let's do just go down here. I think they are, I don't know. Here we go. There is I just saw it. Anyway, you could just choose a bunch of files and you can add them here to your playlist. There we go. We've got a playlist created. Hope it doesn't start playing that automatically. There we go. That's how you would create a playlist. I do believe that is everything that I wanted to present today. A lot of fun things you can do with the stream integration. So, with all that being said, I'm going to hand this back over to you, Hayden.
Thank you so much, John. That was great. As John was alluding to, this is perfect feature for a multitude of things, whether it's video editing and making sure your videos are right and tight, but also having different playlists if you need to send it out to clients or customers, or even having a place where your team can catch up on meetings if they missed out, if they were sick that day or out of office, just knowing where to go to find those. Huge feature there. Thank you so much. Up next, we will hear from Ken, who's presenting on custom fonts coming to SharePoint in a new way. Over to you, Ken.
Hey, thanks, Hayden. Share my desktop out. All right, so we're going to take a look at Brand Center. I know that everyone who has been a fan of branding on SharePoint has been waiting for Brand Center for quite a while now, and we finally have it. So Brand Center provides a new interface, which currently only allows you to tweak the fonts, but will eventually allow you to tweak the fonts, the colors, graphics, icons, headshots, all sorts of fun things to keep the branding consistent across your entire tenant. So we're going to take a look at two features today. We're going to take a look at the Brand Center font feature, which is available now. It is in preview mode, but we've tested it and it appears very stable. And then we're going to look at what are called organizational asset library features. Those have been available for a while, but I've been loath to ask clients to use them because there was never a true home for those assets to live. And now there is, because the concept of the SharePoint organizational asset library is being integrated into the concept of Brand Center. In fact, if you actually have already deployed an organizational asset library, then Brand Center is aware of that. And when you provision your Brand Center, it will use whatever site you've actually set up as your OAL as your Brand Center. So Brand Center today has to be provisioned through the admin console, and we'll take a look at that. The admin console settings that you have to go through are actually pretty straightforward. You have to take a very simple org setting, which is Brand Center Preview, and you have to enable it. There are going to be a couple of different scenarios. There's really two. One is that you're not using this organizational asset feature, where you're not providing a centralized location for graphics, for example, for your company at the current time. If you are not doing that, then enabling this feature we'll turn on a content delivery network in the background, and we'll turn on this SharePoint organizational asset feature for you. And we'll ask you, what SharePoint site do you want to put your Brand Center on? It will provision a brand new SharePoint site then to host Brand Center. And this is going to look and feel very similar to how the Content Type Hub works. The Content Type Hub, if you're familiar with using it, provides a SharePoint site, but as soon as you start manipulating either the term store information or the content type information that is tenant wide, you actually are taken into a service that's hosted out of that SharePoint site. And this works exactly the same way. So this is a service that has to have a home, and that home will be one of your SharePoint sites. So again, if you're not using the organizational asset library, then you'll get a brand new SharePoint site. They'll give you a recommended name. You can call it whatever you want. We went with the recommended name, Brand Guide. You might want to go with Brand Center, Brand Guide, something brand, our brand. So that will provide you that SharePoint site. You can then do exactly as you would with Content Type Hub or any of your other SharePoint sites, use standard permissioning to grant your business folks who manage your brand assets access to that site. Once you have your site up and running, one of the nice things is that they've actually deployed a very nice template, which is the Brand Center template. And so the Brand Guide and Brand Center template go together very well. And that's what we've done. So this is the Brand Center template. This is just a SharePoint template. It does not provide that service. You have to go turn the service on at the admin level in order to get the next piece of this, which we'll look at in a second, to actually upload new font packages. But this provides a very nice look and feel that already has good navigation elements to take your staff to the locations that you want them to go to manage the various assets that you're working with. For fonts, that is included currently in the new tool. So to manage that, once you've turned that on the Admin Center, you're going to get a new navigational element here on the site that you selected, and that's the Brand Center navigation element. That Brand Center navigation element's going to take you into that service. So this, you'll notice, looks very similar to the way the Content Type Hub works, where as soon as you have started to use the service, you lose a lot of the navigation, right? You're obviously in a special place, and that's the same case here. All you can manage currently through this interface are the fonts, but colors will be coming very soon, and then they'll integrate the graphics into this. Graphics is available currently, but you do have to use PowerShell to turn that on, and we'll take a look at that at the very end of today's demo. So for fonts, you have to load your fonts first. And so the very first thing you do is you go through the process of uploading your fonts, and that's this interface here. Once you have your fonts in place, then you have to map those fonts to the various CSS tagging spots that SharePoint or Viva use. And you'll notice you have a SharePoint area here to do mapping for what are called font packages, and Viva has its own space for font packages. And that's because Viva is not fully integrated into Microsoft's branding methodology. It uses its own CSS tags. And so because of that, you have to map separately. Once you have your font loaded, you can go into your font packages space. I've got a font package mapped here. I can take a look at that. And you'll notice I have the ability then to say for the title, for example, I'm going to map the given font and I'm going to make it bold. For headlines, I'm going to map the given font and make it bold, and so on. So that's what produces a font package, is that mapping. I can then take a look and say, if I'm going to apply this to a SharePoint site, what might it look like? It'll take a second because it has to render. So hopefully it'll come up here. There it goes. And it'll show you that font's going to look like this. If you watched for just a second, you'll notice there was a quick flash and then the font got applied. So this gives you a preview of what that font's going to look like when you're applying it to your SharePoints. Once you have your font package ready and you've published it, then you can access it from any of your SharePoint sites. So I can go to my sandbox here. You'll notice I'm using a serif font currently, but I can come up to my change the look, and in change the look, I now have a font preview section. And in that font preview section, I can pick from any of the Microsoft fonts that are available, and you'll notice there are a lot of them. Or I can pick my new font package that I've pushed out, and it's under the From My Organization header. And so if I select that, it gets applied, and then I can save it. It takes a few seconds because it has to apply it in a couple of areas. And now I've got my new font applied across my site. There are a couple of gotchas currently with this feature. That's why it's in preview. The first one is if you load a font, because you might want to test this, you can't actually delete a font. You'll be able to eventually, I'm sure, but currently you can't. All you can do is hide it so it doesn't show up in the change the look interface. That's kind of a gotcha when you're testing this, so just be aware of that. The second is that the font packages themselves, these are licensed objects. So please be aware that, there might be free fonts you can find on the internet, but you're going to want to make sure you have the proper licensing so that when you're loading the font out, you're not running afoul of any IP issues. Then the third issue is that while you can apply a font to a hub, those fonts won't cascade down to child sites that are attached to that hub at this time. So you have to, on a site-by-site basis, pick the font that you want applied through that change the look interface. So the last piece then is the graphics portion. One of the things that I find really nice is that you can now in your branding site decide that you're going to go ahead and do a integrated approach, and you're going to do fonts and graphics, so icons, graphics, headshots, brand logos, and you can do all of that now through this site because you can come out and use the document libraries that get provisioned with this template. Like I said, this is a very good template, and it provisions document libraries that are fit for purpose. And you can then have your brand assets, and then you can go in and say, oh, I'm going to go ahead and have icons, logos, headshots. So I can go in and I can look at my logos, for example. And we see I've got my dataBridge logos out here. And then I can designate that the brand assets library, this entire document library here, and any subfolders within it, can be part of the user interface whenever my staff are coming out and looking for a brand asset. They don't actually have to come to this site. They obviously can, right? Because we can link through this through our hub, and then we can have our brand assets available to them so they can come and interact with them. But SharePoint provides an interface. If you run a single command to register this library as a home for SharePoint assets that you want your staff to interact with, you can now do that in a very easy way. So I'll go ahead and edit this page now, and I'll pick one of my graphics here on one of my buttons. And now when I look to change the graphic, I can say, you know what, I want to actually do a custom graphic, and I want to look for it on my assets that are published by my organization. You'll get the normal interface, but then I can come in and I can look under my organization and I'll see my brand assets because I've published that out as a location that I want to interact with. So I can then go into brand assets. I can then go into icons, logos, graphics, headshots, whatever I've provided to the staff, and I can select one of those and apply it across any site that I'm developing. So those two features together, fonts and the ability now to have a home for these shared assets, which is a feature that's been around for a while, but now it has a natural home in your brand center, I think is a great solution going forward. And I'm really looking forward to colors coming online quickly here. And then I think, again, you'll be able to manually manage your assets, your shared assets, your graphics. Currently, you do have to run the PowerShell script, but I think the shared assets will come online. You'll just be able to designate a library as an asset library. And I'm really looking forward to that. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate that so much. The brand center coming into play is going to be a huge game changer for all SharePoint environments. This tool is going to be perfect way to freshen up your SharePoint site and be able to manage the looks and feels in a very low maintenance way. So very excited to see as they continue to build out what this is going to look like. So with that, without further delay, let's go ahead and move on to Leona. Leona will be sharing two separate topics. One is how to set up campaigns in the Viva Engage app, as well as an overview on Microsoft Teams Meet Now feature. Over to you, Leona.
Alrighty, welcome everyone. Yep, today I'm going to be talking about starting with Viva campaigns. So just a brief introduction for those who don't know what Microsoft Viva is. It's Microsoft's kind of social media platform. It was previously known as Yammer. It's kind of an area for the user base within inside of your organization to have kind of a social media platform-esque area to have communities and kind of chats and have polls and kind of engagement instead of just purely a work environment. We're also going to want to discuss what communities are. It's a kind of a control to say, hey, this is meant to be used as a purpose. It's kind of like a channel in which content that is related to a larger idea. So maybe we would have an HR team or that would have a community in which all the HR members can come in there and post and kind of promote their department outwards, but it isn't through Microsoft Teams. But we're going to be talking about campaigns specifically, which campaigns are pretty much the same thing as communities, except that they're kind of more focused on kind of more limited duration timeframes because they have a published date and they can also be disabled so they can kind of come and go as you need them. They also have additional metrics as well for tracking, so you can kind of determine user engagement. So this might be more important for your HR teams or your community outreach teams that want to kind of go, what are the user base? What's the buy-in that we need to get from a user base? Where can we track that? Where can we improve things? What works and what doesn't work for our organization? Some use cases might be, again, like the idea of seasonal or promotional events. So if you say, hey, there's going to be a Christmas event that's coming up this year, we can go ahead and maybe have a campaign for that. Or maybe you have a branding initiative in which you kind of want to get the community's feedback on naming convention and logos, in which you can have a place for that as well. Or lastly, might be a community effort or a charity drive. So in essence, you can also track dollars raised or number of hours committed to something, and your user base can easily see that with inside of community. There is also one little asterisk that I want to add on to this before I get started, which is going to be the idea of this does require the user who creates these campaigns to have a Viva Engage Amplify license. That is a sub-license of a larger license, which we'll talk about a little bit later today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into Viva Engage. So this is what Viva Engage looks like in the browser. This might look a little bit different, and let me zoom this in a little bit more for us as well. So in Viva Engage, you can see that we have communities here in which your organization may, as of this moment, only have communities be available, but you can also see there's an additional area for campaigns. This is where the campaign area will reside. So anytime that a user or an admin user realistically will be creating new campaigns, this is where you can easily start to track them and engage with them and or follow them if you so desire. And then again, whenever you do click on one of these campaigns, you get taken to the campaign page in which you kind of see the hashtag. So that's another nice control that exists here, where if you ever use that hashtag in any of the other kind of posts that you do on side of Viva Engage, it will also link it back here and get kind of consolidated into a feed with inside of that campaign. So if I was to go to any of our other communities, let's say I went to our webinars community and I made a post here talking about, you know, I'm so happy about XYZ. And then we can do a kind of a hashtag. And then as we can see here, by using a hashtag, we can see that fourth campaign shows up as an available option. And I can go ahead and kind of post that here. And now if I was to again come be a user who goes, what is this campaign here? And I can go ahead and click on that, and that would take us back to that feed here. And again, we can already see our new post with inside of here, where it's origin point and things as such. Again, also with the page, you get additional tracking and additional control. So if, again, like I was saying before about the idea of maybe a charity drive where you want your user base to kind of see the progress that's being made and get that engagement, you can create goals that are being worked on. There's also additional controls on the organizers and additional pin documents here. And then also very basic analytics on this page, which we'll get into analytics here in a minute as well. But let's say you wanted to create a brand new campaign. How hard or easy would that be? If you do have that license available and we go to our admin center, you are a corporate communicator. So those are the two criteria that you need to have. You will have additional options for you, which will be the feature management is what we really care about right this second. And then there's an area for campaigns. You go ahead and click on that. You get taken to a page that shows all of your every campaign that you have. You can also have either go to active campaigns, drafted campaigns, or ended campaigns. And then you can also see here, again, if you wish to click on that campaign directly, you can click here, who created it, its current status. If you want to make any modifications to it, its analytics, and or if you wish to end the campaign or delete the campaign. But right now, we'll want to go ahead and create a brand new campaign. We give it a hashtag. So again, you only get one hashtag per campaign. Also, once you start a campaign, you cannot change the hashtag. So this is kind of a once and done type of deal. So make sure you get your hashtag right the very first time before you go ahead and publish it. So we'll call this one webinar for the time being. We can kind of give it a description. That would be the description at the very top of our campaign page. So promote our webinar. And then we can also add co-organizers. So if I said, hey, I really want Ken to be a co-organizer and maybe Hayden as well, I can go ahead and add additional co-organizers. You get very basic theme colors here. So if you wish to kind of give it a color, you can. And then also kind of the default publisher, which will be the default option. Like when you click into that field at the very top of the page, what is the default kind of control will be there. Let's make it simple right this second, make it a discussion. And then we go ahead and hit create. So now we have our new kind of campaign. It currently isn't live. So as of right now, we get this little message saying it's currently kind of in a draft state. Until we hit this publish button, it does not go live to the community. So which means you can kind of get all the configuration done now before it goes live. So we can go in here, configure our goal. So if we wanted to say, actually, this one, I think this is going to be a time-based one. We want to kind of track the number of hours. We want to say there is meant to be 50 hours that we want to track. So we can go ahead and say, hey, this is our goal. As of right now, we have 0. And then once you wish to make modifications to it, you click this little pencil icon and make adjustments to it. So we can say, hey, like, we started off with 25 hours and now we're 50% through our goal. You can also add executive sponsors. This is going to be an additional control with inside the admin portal to create sponsors. And you can also add any additional hyperlinks to files for your campaign. So maybe there is any sort of brochures or maybe policy documents or whatever the case may be that you want to have be able to be as a resource for your user base for that campaign. You can go ahead and add it via this pinned area here, which you provide the URL and the display text to it. Also, you cannot start posting anything for a campaign until it does go live. So you can't kind of pre-build content on this page. You have to hit the publish button first, which we'll go ahead and press now. You say, hey, are you sure you wish to kind of do this? This is the hashtag that we're going to be using. It's going to be visible to everyone. There can't really be too many more changes. Are you sure you want to do this? We say the OK button or yes, we're good to go. And now this will be available to us. Also, another thing to be aware of, it might take a little bit of time for a campaign to kind of become available in the sense of a usable hashtag. Within an hour after a campaign is created, you will be able to start using that. And also, you may also be able to start seeing it show up here in this top campaigns area. So again, it does not happen instantaneously, unfortunately, but just be aware it is kind of being pushed out and propagated through all the other UIs. Now, let's say our campaign is going fantastic and we, as kind of the admin users, want to track any sort of metrics. So inside of the portal here, there is an analytics area. So if we were to click on that, we get an area now specifically for campaigns. So if I clicked on here, I can see the current campaigns that we have. So as of right now, there's only really one campaign because there's really no metrics on the other one because it was just recently created. But in essence, we can kind of see the number of people who are reacting to it, people who are commenting it, people who are posting on it, the people that it's reached out to, the number of followers on the campaign, where are the sources of the post coming in from? Are they coming in from different channels or specific storylines or wherever it might be? You can kind of track all this information to kind of go, where is our most buy-in from our user base whenever we do a campaign? Is it a specific channel or community, or is it just anybody kind of ad hoc posting? You can also see which posts are getting the most views, which are getting the most comments and the most reactions, the most contributors to this. So who's using that hashtag or posting within inside the community the most, who are the leaders, which would be more of the kind of the champion users that we talked about a moment ago. Also, you can see the reactions from the user base to kind of track to see what sort of posts are getting the most likes or the loves or laughs or celebrates or thanks or even sads. So in essence, you can kind of track that information here as well. Campaign follower breakdown. Where is that engagement coming from? Is it from the campaign page, the post in the campaign, reacts to the campaign? Where is the engagement coming from? So this might be very beneficial too, again, if your organization does any sort of seasonal thing or you want to get more buy-in from the user base, these are going to be metrics that you can use to really benefit yourself. Going back into the licensing thing real fast. So again, with the idea of the Viva Engage Amplify that I referenced before, it is a specific kind of licensing level. So it exists inside the Microsoft Viva Engage Communication, the Communities area, or the Microsoft Viva Engage Suite. So one user, the user who will be making campaigns, will need to have this license to be able to perform creation of campaigns. So just be aware of it. It's not everybody needs to have that license. It's just the user who's going to be creating them. All right, so that concludes my conversation today about Viva Engage. And I hope that you guys will be able to use that and start to get more buy-in from your user base for kind of more, again, social events that you wish to have. Moving on to my second topic today will be the MS Teams Meet Now. So for those who kind of use Microsoft Teams, which I would assume most of us do based off of us using Microsoft Teams right now, you might be used to the idea of creating a calendar event and then having MS Teams kind of meeting be available. There is now a means, or there has been a means for a while now, for your teams to easily create a meeting in the moment versus having to create an event, then send out invites, and then dropping a link in the chat. You can go ahead and into a Microsoft Teams channel and say, hey, we need to meet now, guys. So an example might be you're the IT team. Suddenly there's an outage in which you need to get a certain number of users on your IT team to get on a call to say, hey, guys, we need to start working through this issue. Or any other departments might be having kind of more of a red alert. We need to get all hands on deck. This is going to be a quick and easy way to get that started. And there's also a number of other benefits that come along with it. So to talk through how do we do this? So if we go into our Microsoft Teams here, so as of right now, I have Microsoft Teams pulled up on our screen. I have a team called Meet Now demo, and I'm in the general channel. So if I wanted to, up in the top right-hand corner of Microsoft Teams, there's this little camera button available to us. There's a Meet Now button or schedule a meeting. So if you wish to schedule something out in advance, we're not going to talk over that right this second, but let's say we wanted to meet now. So we have all hands on deck, red alert is our kind of issue that we're having right now. We can go ahead and give it a name. We hit the join now button and the meeting kind of gets created in the channel. What will also happen is that there will be an option for your other members of that team who are in that channel to be able to quickly join that meeting via the join button here. Also, what's really nice about it living inside of a Teams channel is that also all the communication logs and the recording go save to that channel directly. So in case by chance a member of your team is currently tied up doing something else, but they still want to be able to go back and look at the transcripts or look at the chat history or go watch the video of that meeting, all that data will reside within that post. So as we can kind of see here, we have a search sample ended. If we go ahead and say see the details, we get taken to the transcript. So if we wish to download that, we can also see who were the attendees and also the recording here. So if I was to say, oops, again, guys, sorry I wasn't able to be, in that meeting, but I want to be caught up with it to kind of know what is going on currently. This will be a nice way for you to have that consolidated into a singular area versus having to reach out who originally created that meeting invite, making sure that link is available to me type of idea. So this really consolidates the idea of, again, kind of an urgent need to have a meeting with your teams and have that data kind of reside in an area that they can all have access to it in case they need to reference it back at any point in time. So I just really wanted to kind of show that today to you guys. Again, that will be available to everyone kind of as of this moment. So it's not a brand new feature, but it is a nice thing to be aware of. So I'll pass it back on to you, Hayden, and it was a pleasure speaking with you all.
Thank you so much, Leona. Yeah, the Viva Engage, the capabilities of having either fundraising campaigns, or if you do like serving out in the community or any community outreach stuff, having a campaign centered around that, or any project specific things, as well as having everything that you need in a Microsoft Teams channel so that if you need to meet now, all great features. Thank you so much, Leona. And thank you guys again, Ken, John, and Dylan for today's presentations as well. This does conclude the learning portion of today's call, but don't jump off yet. I know we're a minute over. There has been some updates and changes I want to make you guys aware of, but we hope that this has sparked some new interest for functionality for you and your teams that you guys can explore. Please be on the lookout in your emails for next webinar, which will be in the late June time period, and we look forward to learning with you guys next month. Before we segue to the Q&A, there has been a few changes to mention of how to receive today's recording materials. We now have a brand new learning site portal that will house today's recording, presentation, any additional how-to documents, and it will all be placed in there for access if you're an active support or SPC client. You should have already been contacted with access information, but if for some reason we may have not reached out to you or your team yet concerning access, please reach out to us after this webinar. We want to make sure you get that because that's where we'll be housing all the materials from now on. So we really want to make sure you guys get access to that to utilize any materials. With that said, we will now segue into the open live Q&A form. If you don't plan on staying for the live Q&A, I just want to say thank you guys again for tuning in today and learning with us. On screen, we are showing instructions on how to raise hands in the chat. We'll unmute your mic and allow you to ask questions to our team members, which will be taken in order of the raised hands. Looks like we got Tracy.
Hello, how's everyone?
Hey, Tracy.
Now, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm thinking since I got some experts in here, not trying to solicit free advice, but let's see how this goes.
Okay.
I actually have an organizational chart that I've been working on, and it's a great chart. So actually, I was thinking about, I didn't know if I could share my screen and show everybody or even give them the link if anybody wants to use it. It's like a JavaScript org chart. But anyway, we've been working on this for a while. And so we were testing it and we wanted to put it on our intranet page, but it wasn't working. So the funny thing is that it works in edit mode. So, but when I try to put the link out there, it just shows it blank.
Interesting. So when you publish it, it doesn't show. That because that is such a nuance with specific JavaScript code. That might be something that we want to take into another call, just to have a dev person be able to meet with you and your team one-on-one and kind of look it over. But great question. We would love to help you out with that and look into that further. Yeah, we don't have the capability set up right now to allow you to share your screen to help you out in real time. But we'll reach out to you after this and get something scheduled. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that might have questions or need to talk through anything?
Oh, I want to post that real quick before you go. I want to post that org link. Give me a second. I just to give it to the group. So hold on one second. I want to put it in the chat. Okay, one sec.
Okay. Right. If there's no other questions. All right. I think it'd be wise just to go ahead and um, close off of the webinar at this point in time. Again, it was great to have you guys. Tracy, we'll get to you as soon as this meeting's over and get that link from you. If it's something to share with the whole group, we'll include it within all the learning materials and things of that nature. But we appreciate you so much. But at
Oh yeah,
this
no
time,
worries. I just put it. I put it in the chat. So I don't know if
okay.
everybody's gone, but I did put it there in case anybody was interested.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
We'll talk soon. All
See ya.
right.